was the first time you saw Lee Harvey Oswald?
Saw him that Friday afternoon, November 22nd. He walked into the lobby of my store.
How far in did he walk out there, John?
Just a few feet. He was standing right about where those tennis shoes are right there, just about 5 feet from the door there.
What made you suspicious of this man who walked into the lobby?
Well, right after the president had been shot, they broadcast a description on the radio of this man. 5'8", 5'9", 150 pounds, and this Oswald matched the description. And well, just a few minutes before he walked into the lobby, on the radio they had a bulletin that an officer had been shot here in Oak Cliff, and he walked in. He matched the description. Looked scared, just the way he stood there.
You were standing right here behind the counter?
Standing right here behind the counter, listening to the radio.
And where did he walk to? How far into the lobby did he come?
He walked right into the right-hand side of the lobby there, just a few feet from the door, and stood there looking in at the shoes there.
Were there a lot of police cars in the area?
Yeah, there was a lot of police cars. There were some cars coming up Jefferson Street. They made that U-turn there and went back down Jefferson, and when they did, Oswald turned and walked up to the theater. When he went out the lobby and toward the theater, I walked out to the sidewalk and watched him go in. Then I walked up to the theater and asked Miss Postal there, the cashier, if she had sold a ticket to this man wearing the brown sports shirt, you know, his description. She called the police, and Butch stayed there at the front exit, and I went back down by the stage, the back exit, and waited there until the police came.
They get the suspect. Brewer have him in the Lincoln Theater now. 10-4.
What happened when the police came?
Well, just before the police got there, they turned the house lights on in the theater, and I looked out the curtain and saw Oswald, and he stood up and walked to the aisle there and then turned around and sat back down, almost where he had been sitting. And then I heard this noise outside and opened the door, and the police grabbed me and asked me what I was doing there, and I told them, and they asked me if the man was still in the theater. I said yes. They asked me to point him out, so three other policemen and myself walked out and pointed to him, and Officer McDonald, he was the first one to him. He approached him, and Oswald stood up.
Well, I entered the theater from the curtains on the left side of the screen, and the Johnny Brewer from the shoe store and a couple other officers on the stage, and he had pointed into the direction of the rear of the theater and said that was a man that we were looking for, sitting at the rear of the theater alone. And I spotted the man that he was talking about.
Did you have your gun drawn?
No, I didn't. And as I walked up to the aisle, Oswald was sitting in the second seat, the third row from the rear, the second seat from the right center aisle.
This seat right over here?
This seat right here.
What happened then?
Well, let me let you use my pistol.
Okay.
And go through it a little bit, make sure it's empty so that won't have an accident.
All right.
And he had it tucked in his belt on the right side.
Like this?
Yes. Of course, he had that shirt over it, but that will suffice.
He was
now.
wearing a brown sports shirt, is that right?
Yes, and he was sitting in that seat there with his hands in his lap. And as I walked up to the aisle, I turned in the aisle, I said, "Get on your feet." And he stood up immediately. He brought this right hand up to his chest.
Did he say anything when you...
As he was bringing his hands up, he brought the other one up to eye level. He said, "Well, it's all over now." At that time, I was reaching this way, and his hand got in front of mine, owned a pistol. My hand grabbed the pistol in this manner, and he hit me with that left hand to the nose, and when he did, I came back and hit him like this. He slapped the pistol. I turned the pistol around, and I got my hand on the butt, came over like this. I was holding him with this hand. I handed this pistol to an officer that was out in the aisle.
Officer McDonald, I've always heard that the gun that Lee Harvey Oswald had in his hand misfired. Is that correct?
Well, it didn't actually misfire. If you'll cock it, I'll show you the position my hand was in whenever it snapped on me. The fleshy part of my hand between the thumb and forefinger was between the hammer and the firing pin hit the skin and then struck the primer, which slowed the action down. It sort of pinched that fleshy part of my hand in there.
So actually your skin got between the hammer and the primer?
Yes, and it didn't get the full force of the firing pin. Consequently, the shell didn't go off. And I believe that's what saved my life.
Had you ever seen him prior to this day here in this neighborhood?
Never in my lifetime.